Hey everyone, before I get started, I just want to remind you that if you like my content, hit that like button, subscribe to my channel, and then join the Militiaman and Crew Patreon community by clicking the link in the caption. Hey, good evening everybody. I hope everybody's having a wonderful Friday. Drive careful on the way home. It's a busy Friday. Hey, just real quick before we get started, hey, just for all those that are in need and are having personal family problems, I pray for those, and also that I have a family member that needs to have some prayers, if you don't mind. My older brother, he happens to be having some surgery tonight, so let's give him some love, give him some prayers. Thank you very much. Hey, we're going to talk about today the federal Supreme Court issued a decision in the Kurdistan region for the salaries case. I'm going to bring it up again because it's kind of the lead-in, because the fact remains is that the federal court decided to oblige the Prime Minister, Mohammed Shia al-Sudani, and the Prime Minister of the Kurdistan Regional Government to settle their salaries of the Kurdistan region. Have they done that yet today? Well, they haven't, but they're talking about it. But that's key one. The federal court also obliged the Sudanese releasing funds of the region's salaries so that they can be settled and released without delay. It also decides to oblige the region to hand over the oil and non-oil revenues to the federal state treasury. So that was, we went over that the other day. But think about it though, it's part of the process. This is part of the whole big deal. Another article comes out today, and it's basically about the continuation of the official working hours for Friday and Saturday. TAFE Sammy was, remember at the end of the year, they were going to work till the end of the year and then some more. And then here again in February, we were talking, surprisingly, that they are focused on finishing the salaries, which we just talked about. And they're doing that today, or today's over there in Baghdad, and tomorrow. So that's pretty fascinating to see how that's going to turn out. Forming a committee to price food. Why are you repricing food? If you're going to be at 1310 and you're going to lop your currency, why would you have anything to do with repricing food? Because there's no value change when you lop a currency. I'm surprised that people have to keep at that. Sad. They go on to say that they're going to prepare a price for a formula for basic foodstuffs. The Department of the Private Sector Development and the Ministry of Commerce held a meeting today to discuss the food items that were determined to be an issue on a monthly bulletin. So they're going to publish it, and the prices in the local market to also discuss the factors affecting prices in local markets. And they're going to have a mechanism, some sort of a mechanism that will be adopted to calculate the prices. So obviously, if you have a calculation, well, an exchange rate effectively is a component of a calculation. So we're going to see how that works. We'll see what the kind of calculation that they use. Is it going to be 0.0007? Okay, you're going to find out. I don't think so. But basically, changing formulas for pricing. Why? Changing formulas while keeping the new private sector in check from price gouging is not a bad sign. So why would the private sector need to be in check? They're going to need to be in check also when the people have a lot of money. And when they do have a lot of money, or they have extra purchasing power, they're going to need to have a check also. So here's another one that talks about the central bank governor. He's basically determining that there's importance to the electronic collections. We all know that electronic payments are going to be a big part of this whole deal. He's talking about this project will enable the automation of collection processes, the adoption of electronic payment tools, and the reduction of cash transactions. So this whole thing, this whole digital transformation is basically getting them to a cash-less society, okay? So it goes on and says the payment tools and the reduction of cash transactions, which in turn will help to alleviate citizens by accelerating the completion of those transactions. So instead of having to carry around bags of money, you're going to be able to have a card, electronic. It's going to be quite quick and fast, furious and easy, accountable, and it's also going to be well, transparent's the main thing. Okay, so that's pretty big. It goes on to say the customers can choose the time and place that they want to pay the bills, and this will save them time and effort. We all know that. What's it going to do? It'll multiply payment channels. They'll have many channels that they can use. It allows the citizens to have integrated reports. So auditing is big. Interestingly enough, that's not only for the citizens, but that's going to be for the government, the governance. It's going to be for the provinces. It's going to be for everybody. So they're going to have an accurate accounting for everything. And that's probably why some of the Kurdistan region, you see some things about those guys up there in the north they have ghost employees. They don't, yeah, they were skimming off the top from the sounds of it. But anyway, those items are going to be gone away. Look, why are these electronic changes going to happen now? Why are they doing this when they could have done it 5 years ago? They didn't do it. Each and every year that they went by, you know that the electronic cards aren't brand new. They've been around for a while. So basically what we're seeing here is that at an exchange rate of 13.10 to $1 US, why are you going to keep... Why didn't you finish the budget? Why didn't you expose the 2023 budget? Why did the government have to come out and explain to everybody that you have 3 options? You got to do this, 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 and this, okay, to get this done. So ultimately, that's what they're doing. My view is like, why change these things from 13.10 to 1 USD? And they've been basically at a punishment rate for almost 20 years until now. It's amazing that the digital transformation of this economy is coming to a real life. It's coming to a real life, and it's also going to be coming to a real effective exchange rate that's going to be valued. So you all valued for international trade. And at this stage of the game, again, how are you going to finance one of the biggest world projects at 1310 when your valuation of your country is so far much greater than any other country in the region per kilometer? We've been over that. So come on into Patreon and do some research, catch up if you haven't already, or just sit back and smile, because that's what I'm doing. I think smiling is the perfect time. The next thing is the German company Siemens. They're bringing in extra 15 secondary stations for electricity. Private sector is going to require internet. They're going to require 24/7 electricity for businesses to run accordingly, and they're going to need it to last. And so they're moving on it, and obviously they bring this up. We've had numerous times that over the years that they're upgrading their power grid, whether that's from Jordan, whether that's from Saudi Arabia, or whether that's machinery like Siemens is bringing in. So basically this increase from Siemens actions was accompanied by the delivery of these 15 secondary stations in the middle of the southern Euphrates, Anbar, and West Mosul. All of those places were affected significantly by the war-torn area over the years. So ultimately, the private sector is going to basically require 24/7, 365 electricity. So that's obviously in our best interest. It's in their best interest, and especially with the fact that Iraq is basically on the table here for it. What they're talking about is global trade, global integration to global trade through what? The WTO. You have the ITC today. You have the UN paying for it. No, the European Union, the government of Iraq, the European Union, World Trade Organization, the ITC are having meetings with the 21st and the 22nd with hundreds and hundreds of companies. And it's fascinating that the WTO is involved in that. The European Union's paying for it. But also another country, Great Britain, is going to be paying or help donating money for those smaller countries to get people to this ministerial council meetings. They're going to be having talks with the WTO. I think it's the 26th through the 29th, specifically about a session. So be patient Let's see how they react. I'm not waiting for a session. I'm waiting for actions prior to a session is what I'm waiting for. So let's see how that goes. I'm not alone, by the way. United Kingdom donates about 30 million British pounds. So they got the crowbar out and got those pounds off the deck to be able to donate to help people get to this. But the main thing, what I like about this is that they want everybody to have a voice. So they're actually giving the money for those lower developed countries. It says the UK wants WTO members, rich or poor, large or small, playing their role in shaping global trading systems. They want to see delivering economic benefits for all members. So it's not just the biggest members or any specific member, it's for all members. And they say that includes the ability to attend key decision-making moments, such as the ministerial conferences. We're going to see the MC13. I may have misspoke, but the bottom line is ministerial conferences are big. They talk about decision-making. We mentioned that back on the 14th of this month, that there was specific meetings being done where all members had a voice. Well, here again, we're going to be talking about people that have a voice. And that's where we believe that Iraq will probably have that leg up. I know that you guys all read or saw my last video where we talked about Saudi Arabia literally giving Iraq all the help in the world, where they gave about 15 years of experience to get and work to get done within 1 year to get where they are today. That's a big deal. Typically, you can see where it takes accession periods up to 20 years. Iraq's been at 20 years. There have been more. They take 30, but here we are. A lot are pretty much around 20 years, and Iraq is there right now. So, excuse me, but we have to go over the parliamentary position on the 2024 budget tables. Well, what's going on with this? It says that the Parliamentary Finance Committee called for accelerating sending the 2024 budget schedules for legislation. Well, before I get into that, let's just remember the 2023, 2024, 2025 budget is a tripartite budget. We haven't seen the results of the 2023 budget yet. They talk about this stuff. But just be prepared, though, that in this particular regard, it says that this budget and the salary sales, all those things, they were in the press. They're in the news. So they have some issues that they want to talk about. It says the government continues to scrutinize the schedule for 2024 budget as the government carefully faced the deficit with the budget for the year 2023. Okay, so they haven't finished the 2023 budget yet. They've been financing salaries. So what is that related to? Well, it's related to, in the future, is going to be what exchange rate are they going to use to value the operational side of the investments. Operational side of the budget for 2023, and or the investment side for the 2023. It's got to be audited. We were told the 13th best or largest firms in the world were helping with audits, and they have that in the startup. We talked about the three things that need to be done. Is one of those things is making sure that the Kurds audit their employees. The numbers need to jive. The non-oil revenues need to be given up so they can audit, make sure they jive. The salaries, the amounts, audited. Get it? It's fascinating. So this is a bigger study than most people realize, but the bottom line is it's real and it's happening before our eyes. It says here that the Minister of Commerce says Iraq left the list of countries that led the increase in inflation and prices. Well, this article is basically, that doesn't make sense to a full degree, but the bottom line is it says that they have decreased inflation. It has gone down. So for those that are on that law situation, sorry, you guys, the inflation has gone from, I think it was from 7% to 3.5 or something to that effect. I might have those numbers here just in a moment. But the bottom line is that Bottom line is that they don't have an increase in inflation in pricing and food, and or the food security. They've done a really good job. They say that there's a comprehensive oversight measures from Baghdad, as well as the region, by changing the method of support and thus ensuring the work is discreet and brings profit to the private sector, and thus protects the consumer. So when it comes to inflation, they've got some mechanisms, if you will, to counter it, to basically, instead of having the people jacking prices up before Ramadan and all that, they're basically stating that they have a mechanism in place once something happens that they can absolve that. So that's pretty good, because the LOP theory has been just completely overdone. But anyway, the federal court rescues the region, so the federal court's talking again today. Effectively, they are talking about the federal court and the region's employees and warnings of a rebellion from the Kurdish Authority. Well, the bottom line was the Kurds and the Baghdad have been ordered to get together and do what they say. The decisions made, they need to be followed. And I don't think that's going to change. They're going to have to abide by it. They did say what it was. They're obligated, and it's binding. So it says here that the federal court, quote, says, authorities obliged all to take the necessary measures for employees to ensure that their dues are delivered on a monthly basis and without delay. So in other words, there's heat's on, the heat's up. Get it done without delay. They go on to say that the process of localizing salaries will be in accordance with those agreements between the center and the region, which is Baghdad and the Kurdistan region, and will witness the current period by visits. There will be visits between both parties to resolve these matters, remove any obstacles, reach understandings about what? Total revenues in accordance with the law and the Constitution. That's fact. Total revenues in accordance with the laws and the revenues. So that's my focus on that. And they go on to say that it was clear they had frank discussions. The authority of the federal government to secure the salaries of the region's employees and relieve their suffering. So again, there was the non-oil revenues. They're talking about the salaries. And they're basically telling us they're going to abide by the law in accordance with it and in accordance with the Constitution. And it goes on to say that what has happened, describing the decision of the federal Supreme Court as a nail in the coffin of Kurdistan. So I guess at what I said earlier was right, because the Kurdistan guys, they were doing things that may not have been up to speed or kosher when it comes to accountability and or accounting, let alone the auditing. So we're going to see how that turns out. I think it's going to be a big deal for us. The prices of goods and services are stable. Back to this, the loppers, right? The prices of goods and services are stable. There's no impact from the parallel dollar, so that illegal market, there's no impact from it. So think about it for a second. As a country, a central bank of the world, I mean, you got a black market. It's illegal, right? You're going to base your analysis on all your data that's going to come from an illegal market to go into the future and to go into the WTO, for instance. Oh, we're waiting for the black market to get together, come down. You got to laugh at it. I think you should. Anyway, it's Friday. I think it's pretty funny. To think about it, it just kind of boggles my mind. The exchange markets are stable. We already went over that. Oh wait, the exchange markets are stable despite the difference between the parallel exchange rate and the official rate. So aside from the illegal market and the official market, it has no bearing. That's their words, not mine. It says the decline in the parallel exchange rate is related to the degree of response to a compliance platform by banks financing foreign trade. So, okay, so they're giving a little bit of credit where due, that the Central Bank of Iraq, the United States Treasury, U.S. Federal Reserve, IMF, BIS, all those alphabet agencies have basically come up with a program to diminish that. And obviously, it's supposedly working. I'm kind of like questioning, like, well, are you really serious, or is this just propaganda that you're putting out? But we'll see. It says the Central Bank of Iraq provides foreign currency and the freedom of external trade and transfers to all relevant economic parties. Of course they do. Provided that the banks are subject to compliance platform to combat money laundering and violation in the international trade in finance. So the markets basically have stabilized after more than a year on the compliance platform, as banks have become accustomed to international standards in financing foreign trade. So the more and more they go on, the only way these guys, whoever's using these banks, are going to be able to make any money is if they get on board. The central bank increased, I think, from 0.002% for transactions to 0.003%, so that, you know what, when it comes right down to it, when they do legal, legitimate transactions in foreign currencies, not just the dollar, foreign currencies, legitimate transactions, those guys should make money. They go on to say an increase in transfers to global trade areas between Iraq and the world. Monetary policy in Iraq is working hard to provide commodity supply from more stable sources in a way that eliminates the unforeseen effects on exchange rates. They go on to say that the general level of prices fell from 7%, here's those numbers that I mentioned, and the beginning of 2023 to at 3.7% at the end of 2023. Again, those loppers, they just keep lopping because it's not, there's no inflation. It's coming down. And a component for a lop is hyperinflation. I just have to laugh again, it's all right. Financial policy, the official exchange rate is the most stable country in the country. So financial policy, they state specifically, the official exchange rate is the most stable. That's the focus. So here again, they're reiterating that markets are stable. There's been no impact on the parallel or illegal market. They clearly use the illegal market to set standards. They're clearly not going to use the parallel market to set standards for future prices of goods and services. The new system that they're going to use is basically a legitimate trade. It's not going to go away, and it's working to a degree that deserves a response from the banks in compliance for complete foreign trade transactions. They're going to have a response. Are you going to be on board or not? So anyway, ultimately, they set the stage that they're fully aware that inflation's low, everything's stable, everything's in place now as far as conditions. The conditions are geared now for what? A real effective exchange rate adjustment to support it? I think so. So let's see how this turns out with that. And then we go to the next item, which is the OTC hosts the National Trade Forum. We talked about this. Okay, it's the government of Iraq supports this. The International Trade Center supports this. Which is a joint agency of the United Nations, by the way. And the World Trade Organization supports this. And what did they do? They organized a 2-day trade forum to help Iraq businesses to identify and develop trade opportunities. When did they do this? The 21st and the 22nd. 2 days, 21st, 22nd. What's today? 23rd. So they finished it. Who funded it? The forum was funded by the European Union. Earlier I told you they broke out the crowbar to get some money so that all the low developed countries could get to the WTO meetings coming up. So who's funding things? Well, the European Union's funding things. Who's involved with it? WTO happens to be involved with this, with Iraq. 21st, 22nd. I don't know if anybody ever really paid much attention to that, but guess what? The UN is committed to supporting Iraq's journey towards economic diversification and resilience, highlighting the importance of collaboration at all levels. Together, they are building a stronger, more inclusive economy that builds and benefits Iraq. And ultimately, what is it going to do? These reforms are aimed at fostering a robust private sector. And so if they haven't gone to a private sector at 1310, obviously there's an obvious circumstance that suggests that they're not going to go into a private sector at 1310. And the last last article of the day, which is long-winded. Sorry, you guys, but let me see if I can shorten this up. It basically is one party has the details of the real deficit of the 2024 budget, and no one knows. Well, why doesn't anybody know what the deficit is yet? Well, because it's basically, this is going to be a key paragraph. The Prime Minister's office is on board, and their advisors do not have any information regarding the amount of the real and expected deficit in the 2024 budget. I'm not so sure about that. He goes on to say, though, this matter is completely closed until the moment exclusively with the Ministry of Finance. So parts of the government do not know yet what is coming. Why? Because they don't have a need to know. The matter is completely closed until the moment exclusively the Minister of Finance, she's legal authority. There is no access to it by any other government or even parliamentary body, and the budget law schedules are all still under study and construction of the budget department in the Ministry of Finance, and no one knows what they include. And then it goes on to say numbers and details. So nobody knows until the last moment. Because why? They got to keep it tight to the chest. It's where JP Morgan wealth management offices were talking to people in real time, and then they backtracked, is because nobody knows the numbers, nobody knows the details. Front running is probably a no-no. That's my opinion. All right. So far, we do not know what the government will send the schedules or when they'll send the schedules, but these schedules will include terms of financial allocations for projects, and other expenditures, and we do not know what the deficit is within this budget. Of course not, because they don't know what 2023 is, remember? Okay, because they haven't finished it yet. They were financing all the salaries, remember? They got to pay the salaries. They got to do the non-oil revenues, okay? It says, we believe the transmission will be accelerated because the delay may restrict the disbursement of operational and investment budgets. 2023. Delay of what? Disbursement of operational investment budgets. That's what they're waiting for. When are they going to do that? They say here, classic Iraqi terms, in the coming days. Noting what? Disbursement is now limited to salaries, employees, and their benefits directly. The expected revenues will be calculated. I talked about the oil and non-oil. Then they go on to say there's a point of view that occurred in the 2023 budget according to the quantities that were spent and how to deal with it. So they had money allocated. They need to talk about that. They need to have those auditors probably have that information. The deficit in revenues achieved, it is assumed that there will be a growth in expenditures given that there's a growth in the operational budget. Iraq's going to explode with growth. We all know that. I mean, if you think about it, you're going to provide thousands and thousands of jobs and build 10 cities, industrial cities, millions of homes potentially. It creates a lot of growth. It creates a lot of jobs. He says basically, and also it says that the deficit in revenues achieved, it is assumed that there will be growth in expenditures given that there is a growth in the operating budget. And he goes on to say that there are contracts concluded in 2023 that have not been dispersed yet. So a lot of people say, well, we've been spending money, we've been building houses, we've been doing all these things. But hey, here it says, contracts concluded in 2023 have not been dispersed yet and must be added in the next budget. Hence, what do you have? You have some of the largest auditors in the world. I think it was 13, are probably in Iraq right now, making sure that everything is 100% up to snuff. Why? Because the new exchange rate is going to be applied, and that information is going to be documented. They're going to have new reports that will be blockchain oriented, digital. It's called a digital transformation. So keep it in mind. Things are happening, and possibly you're going to probably see some things here in the United States to reflect similar behavior. You already do, but you might just not realize it. Last thing, the contracts. I think that's it. Got that. It is basically, look, at this stage of the game, what are they doing? They're holding this 2023, 24, 25 budget close to the chest. Why? Because they need to wait for that special moment in time. Hey, everybody, thank you for being here with me on a Friday. I appreciate your time. It's been great. If you like the content, of course, hit the subscribe button, like that stuff, and then help keeping the content going from now and into the future. You have those three options that are in the details with Militiaman and Crew. And by the way, Samson knocked it out of the park. Pompey Peters' audios are phenomenal. You can find those too throughout the week, and you can see all the other crew members. They rock our vibrant Discord chat room. Thank you, everybody. Appreciate it. Once again, guys, don't forget to hit that like button if you like this content. Subscribe to the channel or join us at the Militiaman and Crew Patreon community for even more exclusive content. You can also donate to this channel by hitting the links in the banner to help keep this page up and running. Your generous support is greatly appreciated, as always. Much, much appreciated. Thank you so much and have a great day.